Already are. In fact, here in California, Governor Brown says he's going to continue to work to reduce greenhouse gases.
And CBS 2 Orange County reporter Michele Gile is live in Laguna Beach with what people are talking about there. Michelle?
That's right. And just like anything, there are people in support of the president's decision and those who are very much against it. Governor Brown, of course, came out swinging today. And just a little bit ago, I spoke to a local college professor who lives right here in Laguna Beach, and he thinks that people who care about things like the rising ocean level and erosion and having less beach because of climate change, well, those people may start getting more involved.
Well, I think people are starting to pay attention because our national leadership has fallen short.
California often bucks the trend, and our state's climate change practices are no exception. Despite the president's announcement today, Governor Brown promises to continue to reduce emissions up and down the state through an ambitious plan. In a statement, Brown blasted President Trump, saying, quote, "He's wrong on the science, totally wrong. California will resist this misguided and insane course of action. Trump is AWOL, but California is on the field ready for battle."
I'm just disappointed in the lack of leadership. There's no leadership. He's not qualified to be president, and I'm trying to be as fair as I can, but he's not a presidential.
At the Huntington Beach Pier this afternoon, we talked to people about the president's withdrawal from the climate agreement, and there were plenty of varying opinions.
I know that as his reasoning seems to be to help with jobs and regulation here so that we can get more jobs. So I'm for that part.
I feel like it's kind of just disappointing to see that our president doesn't necessarily care about the environment and the overall good of people, like for our future as well, not just the people that are living right now.
Well, instead of being on dry sand, we'd be messing up our shoes in the muck right now.
UC Irvine professor Charlie Zender studies global warming and the polar melt. He's worked with groups in LA to cool down the city by repaving miles of dark, hot asphalt with brighter material. Climate change will happen, Zender says, whether the United States is part of the climate agreement or not. But the president's decision to pull out of it, according to Zender, will lead to faster warming and more extreme weather.
One of the greatest things that you can do is to visit the web and find out how much energy you're consuming. Do what's called a carbon calculation. You might be surprised how much energy you save when you avert an airline trip, for example.
And Zender says that cities and counties who are concerned about things like climate change are expected now to start getting more involved. And in Huntington Beach, for example, next week, it is expected that there will be a meeting about energy and the energy that flows into people's homes and whether the people who live in Huntington Beach should be able to make choices, whether they want traditional energy or whether they'd like something that's renewable, say solar or wind. That's the latest live in Laguna Beach. I'm Michele Gile. Back to you.